I thought that taking a bath was supposed to be relaxing. Jesse Shade here for Awfully Good Movies on behalf of the JoBlo YouTube network. And with the Final Destination franchise celebrating its 25th anniversary this year with its 6th installment, which of its previous 5 installments could we possibly do for our bad movie review show, when this franchise has never claimed itself to be absolute cinema? Well, that's easy. Just pick on the one that has not so much as a cameo from the late great Tony Todd, which would be The Final Destination from 2009, the stupidly unnumbered 4th entry that took advantage of the then burgeoning 3D gimmick in ways that Friday the 13th Part 3 could only dream of. So let's hand things over to our horror expert Tyler Nichols for this death-defying episode of Awfully Good Movies.
If there's one Final Destination that's considered the red-headed stepchild of the series, it would be the 4th entry, The Final Destination. With its 3D gimmick and complete retread of everything that we've already seen before, there's a lot that went wrong here. So throw on your 3D glasses, watch out for any lawnmower-propelled rocks, and let's escape death as we look at how awfully good is The Final Destination.
I was meant to see this movie.
The Final Destination franchise is so reliant on its opening accident that it pretty much lives and dies on it. The first film with the airplane crash, the second with the highway accident, and then the roller coaster disaster of the third. Each of these is a unique set piece that puts you in the shoes of the victim. So it's a bit disappointing that they decided to repeat the highway accident, only this time in a contained environment. We already got our fill of awesome car accidents. Setting this at off-brand NASCAR just makes it feel like a cheap imitation. Not off to a great start. And I'm going to put a lot of focus on this opening scene because there's just so much happening here. It can be a lot. First, we're introduced to our main leads, Nick, Lori, Janet, and Hunt. They're just 4 Abercrombie models having their usual weekend jaunt at a NASCAR event. You're seeing how realistic this movie is right off the bat. And for a fun, awfully good drinking game, take a drink every time an object comes towards the screen in that super gimmicky 3D way. It'll be a lot. It may not be intentional for every character, but nearly everyone here is given traits that make you want to see them die. Whether they're racist, rude, or just ignorant, the movie is setting you up to root for their deaths, which makes this more of a theme park ride than anything that you're actually emotionally invested in. We get super fun character traits like Hunt cheering on crashes and being an alcoholic, having snuck in some Jim Beam via a binocular flask, which leads to such an overly aggressive exchange between these spectators, aptly named Mechanic and Mechanic's Girlfriend. See, Mechanic's Girlfriend is clearly just being dragged to this event because she can't even be bothered to take off her ear pods. I imagine it's because she wants to listen to the same rock music that we got at the beginning, throughout the race. The dialogue tries to be charming and cute, but just comes across like teenagers trying to be witty.
And I thought chivalry was dead.
That's not true. I have my cowboy right here.
Every time I think of you, I feel.
All this because a guy sits in his paid-for seat, blocks her view, and she complains about it. And he moves down out of the goodness of his heart. And we're supposed to like this girl? She's acting like a child. Oh, and if you're wondering what brilliant name they gave this guy, it's literally Cowboy. Now, if you're trying to establish a character as being racist, what subtle path can you take?
There goes the neighborhood.
Never mind. These two are given the very appropriate names of Racist and Racist Wife. And the fact that they're being racist to Bubba of all people? Absolute travesty. Forrest is gonna run over there and kick your ass. And yes, I know he's George here, but this scene has cemented him as Bubba for all of time.
People call me Bubba.
Though I think my favorite name of all of our potential victims is simply MILF. Sure, they give her the name Samantha, but the credits make it clear. The priority goes to MILF. She has the brilliant idea of stuffing tampons in her kids' ears to work as earplugs. I'm not sure this would serve as anything other than to embarrass the poor kids, but hey, she'll get what's coming to her. Throughout this, there are moments where we get to see that the stadium isn't up to building code. with the benches breaking apart, bent screws coming loose, and parts of the concrete literally crumbling. I'm sorry, but if you notice any of these things at a sporting event, please get the fuck out of Dodge. And they're really not subtle with the clues that Nick sees regarding this premonition. There's a whole flyer of deceased drivers, followed up by this shirt. This guy really seems like he's the life of the party. The car accident on the track happens in a decidedly convoluted way. Something falls on the track, which causes a massive pileup. But it plays out more like a video game and so much less like the realistic crash of the second film. Mechanic's girlfriend gets crushed, mechanic gets pierced in the head, racists get cut in half, and MILF gets crushed by a flying car engine. Because physics works like that, right? The chaos feels like you're in a Universal stunt show or the old Earthquake ride, which is ironic since reshoots on the film were actually done at Universal Studios. Nick has his premonition and he's able to get most of the people out and save the day. Just kidding, he saves like 7 people and a ton of people still die. He definitely could have saved a few more. And this guy is supposed to be our protagonist? One thing that the fourth Final Destination does well is the opening credits sequence, which works as a greatest hits of some of the greatest kills in the franchise's history. Ellis is really trying to establish that this is going to be a fun time, and I can't blame him. If you check your brain at the door, there's a ton of dumb fun to be had here. We already know the formula by this point. The survivors are going to be picked off one by one while our hero who had the premonition, this time Nick, tries his best to stop it. This really is just a damn near complete recreation of the second film, only with significantly less interesting characters.
Weird is putting tampons in your kid's ears. That's weird. She was bound to die sooner or later.
That's actually why we asked you guys to come over.
Put these in!
Nick also has these really strange mini premonitions that are essentially just nonsense to show off the 3D gimmick. There are some really fun death sequences, and some that just sort of happen. The mechanic's death is so quick and abrupt, it's definitely going more for the shock death, a la Terry in the first film. But then there's the racist, who comes to kill Bubba because he wouldn't let him go in after his wife, so he blames him for her death.
Nobody lives forever.
Whoa, no need for that.
It's time for you to leave, sir.
But it does make his death all the more satisfying, as he's crying like a little bitch, getting dragged along the street and lit on fire. Talk about karma.
We just lost a really hot MILF.
Hunt's a bit of a lovable douchebag, but his death, where his insides are ripped out from the malfunctioning pool cleaner, feels a bit shortchanged, especially when it runs parallel to Janet being stuck in the car wash, and there being a tease for a truly spectacular death. Again, it feels like Ellis is going more for shock versus setup. Though I have to bring up the fact that Nick is plowing this girl in this tent, and she's so damn loud, only to then come out of the tent and reveal that they're right next to this public pool. Tents are not sound dampeners, you're just putting on a show for these people. Where it works well is the death of the MILF, who goes to a salon to get ready for her girls' night out. It's reminiscent of the dentist office death from 2, where you think it's going to be so many different things, yet it ends up being the rock that her son threw away at the very beginning of the scene that takes her out. It's pretty brilliant and something the film desperately needed more of. If you're going to shock, at least set it up well. Hell, even Bubba gets taken out for a cheap pop. But I think the character that gets shortchanged the most is poor Cowboy. Remember how he was nice enough to move down so Lori can see? Well, he's crushed in the initial accident, but since he wasn't asked to move, he's simply injured really badly in the second one. So he has to wait his time out in the hospital, only to eventually be crushed by a therapy pool in the room above his own. This may just be the most unlucky and undeserving man in the entirety of the franchise. There's also a colossally dumb moment that I have to call out. So Nick and Lori come across Bubba trying to hang himself. They find out that he's been trying all day and been unable to because it's just not his turn yet. They tell him that they saved Janet from death, so clearly they stopped Death's plan. Except clearly they didn't. Bubba trying to kill himself and being unable to just proves that there's still an order to these things. So put the fucking champagne away. One brilliant aspect of the Final Destination is in its entire final act in the mall. This practically serves as another mass accident, with some escalator action and all sorts of mayhem occurring. Things explode in this place like there are hidden propane tanks in the walls. But it's the inclusion of the movie theater and even the 3D glasses that put this over the top. At a time when movie theaters were trying to push this gimmick to the moon and were constantly saying how immersive it was,
the magic of 3D has taken audiences.
The most frightening 3D motion picture event.
It was hilarious to see the movie explode out into the audience. I remember watching it in theaters and people went fucking nuts for it. Though, can we please start getting theater attendants to do this?
Sir, move your feet.
Hell, I'm already having to deal with chicken jockey bullshit. I don't need to smell your feet too.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
In the mall, they do a bit of a switcheroo with Nick having yet another premonition, which is now making me realize our main leads die a lot in this movie. At least that's a fun change of pace. Nick, Lori, and Janet think that they've escaped death yet again, proving that it's not just the current generation that struggles with critical thinking. You've done nothing different. Why would you think you're saved? Have you not been paying attention to the prior 70 minutes? You've clearly learned nothing.
What if us being here, right now, was the plan from the beginning?
Well, a little late for that. Unlike other entries in the series, I appreciate that this one just goes, nope, these characters may think that they've survived, but we're killing them off in brutal fashion. They bring back the weird X-ray effect from the opening credits, and we get all three of our surviving characters getting taken out in brutal fashion. It's funny, had these deaths not been done in X-ray, they would have looked cheesy and overly CGI, but this effect just works. So with all of that in mind, I give The Final Destination an awfully good rating of a C. Sure, watch it as a movie or an entry in the series, and you may find yourself frustrated. But watch this as the theme park ride that it's intended to be, and you'll find yourself pumping with endorphins. These aren't characters you're supposed to like. These are people whose deaths you're supposed to be cheering on. This is karma in the best of ways, even if it can be pretty sloppy in most other aspects. Because if there's one thing this movie gets right, it's that when I think of the warm embrace of death, I think of NASCAR.
It's awfully good. It's awfully good.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.